Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today you find me out on another walk. Today we have come down to Arundel in search of another plane crash, and what we're going to do, we're going to start the walk off at Offham Lodge. We're going to head up into these hills up the top here and do a little loop around to where the final resting place of the air crash. So I just headed up a little bit and we've come to a junction. We can go in that direction, just skirting along the ridge line there, but we're actually going to head in this direction, and this one I believe takes us up through the woods that are up on that ridge line right there. So some great views looking east there. Got the lodge right down there, and this is the River Arun, key to the name Arundel, and South Downs in the background. I keep saying I need to go and investigate this little group of trees, copse of trees on the hill there, because it's one of those ones that whenever I'm walking out in the country I always tend to see it. I'm not sure whether I'm going to need to put the microphone on because it is extremely windy, which is one of the reasons why I've chosen to come here today, to try and keep within the woods, and probably not going to be able to fly today with the drone because of the high wind speeds, but I'll review some of the footage and see whether I need to add the mic on to clear it up. So we've worked our way through here and going to head up in this direction. So we're in a section of woods called Heron's Woods. Not sure whether that's named after the bird or whether that's a person. You can probably see by the bushes, extremely windy conditions, and you're probably going to hear some bangs in the background. Arundel Castle is over in that direction. Saw there was lots of people down there, so sometimes they have reenactments on, and power of hindsight, probably should have gone to that rather than coming up here, but I tend to gravitate to the woods rather than the touristy places. So yeah, another crossroads here. Just got to navigate this flood and we'll be heading in that direction. So it's extremely windy. Just came across a ridge line where we could see Higham Tower across the combe just above Arundel Castle. Lovely downland with some sheep grazing in it, and in the distance you can see the cathedral at Arundel. Done previous videos at both of these buildings, so I'll link below those videos. Hoping everything will look okay in this one. I've been checking back the footage and the sound seems to be okay, and I'm going with electronic stabilisation only rather than the gimbal for this section of the video. So just playing around with things and using a new piece of equipment to see whether I can improve the quality of my videos. This seems to be the track. I've gone slightly off piste, but as always I've come completely unprepared for the conditions because it's absolutely sodden up here. It's normally very dry up on the downs because of the high chalk content, but I guess because we're going through the woods here and all of the plant material falling down, it's made for a lot of brown sticky mud, and doesn't help that it's all been churned up by the forestry equipment. You can see up here though, with a castle the size of Arundel Castle and a huge stack of chimneys on it, you're going to need a large amount of woodland to fell just to keep the chimneys lit, unless you import it. You know what they say about men with large tyres? Yeah, gonna head in that direction. So I think we found the culprit for all of the churning up of the mud. Not that it helps, because he's been going this way as well as that way. I'm sure he's having more fun than me. At these times I'd normally be reaching for a piece of hazelwood, but yeah, we've got no hazel up here, disappointingly. Luckily the trees are keeping us out of the wind a little bit, so I think you'll be able to hear me a little bit better in the woodland. It looks like this woodland, I was hoping for a more exciting walk through woodland, but yeah, it looks like it's literally just stock for burning in chimneys. All of these fast growing coniferous trees that you can harvest and replant and get some more trees growing quickly. Even a Christmas tree there. Oh. Some old tracks left behind. I'm sure for some kind of JCB or something, or farm equipment. Got a little trig point over there. The path that I'm on does say that I can go and explore this plantation, which in a previous video I speculated whether that might be an old hill fort. So I think what we'll do is we'll just have a very quick explore through that woodland, and then we're going to head back and come down this way. So, according to the map, we can go through there. I'll put the camera down because this looks like a very fragile gate. So, just like before, this set of woodland seems to be a little bit more sheltered from the wind. I did listen back to the footage as I crossed by the wood stack, and apologies for all of the wind noise. Hindsight, should have put the microphone on for that very short section. I've got some lovely woodland flowers. Comment down below if you know the names of that species. Again, this woodland, when I came past this last time, it looked like it was made up of beech trees, but again, seems to be a lot more pines, coniferous trees. Getting very, very wet. Very dense woods, very dark when you look through them. Lots of foliage, so it's very difficult to see through. Right, flooded up here. Whoop, there we go, almost lost it. Would have loved to have had a bit of hazel stick at this point, but looks like we're just going to have to make do. So the pathway actually diverted me slightly west around this holly grove by the looks of things, if that's what that is. So this is probably the reason it's all fenced and gated off here, is that this is for feeding pheasants. So I would imagine that this is used for growing pheasants to be hunted by the nobility. Well, that was a very uneventful section of a couple of woodlands, to be honest. I knew if I just followed where the tracks were going, it'd bring me out to a gate. I do love it when I come across these old bits of farm machinery. And some great views looking north from here. Rackham burial mounds on that end there. I've done a previous video at Rackham, but I do want to revisit Rackham. Yeah, so it is in that direction that we're heading. So I've just stopped here, this tree, a little drink of some coffee, and it's this type of earthwork that intrigues me about this area. Makes me think that this area at the top here may have been some kind of hill fort, although having walked through that now, there is absolutely no evidence of that. Now, we're going to be heading down in this direction down here. Now, yeah, this area over here, there's no footpath, so we are forced down in this direction. There is a group of trees down the back there. I think it's called the box section of trees, and on the back side of that, the map shows there being a tumulus. I've had a look on all of the satellite imagery and I can't see anything at all there, so I'm doubting there is any kind of tumulus, but it goes to show that this area of land was heavily worked by older men than the Duke of Norfolk. Hi mummy sheep. Hi baby sheep. I identify as that sheep there. Definitely the black sheep of the family. So it's really weird actually looking on the maps. When I look at the apps on my phone, these copses here just don't appear on the maps. Very strange, but it's this section here. It's called Box Copse, and it's that section of woodland there that says there's a tumulus on the back end of it, or not back end of it, but at the high end, right here. I said maps don't. The maps show it on some of the maps. Like I said, when I look on Google Earth, I can't pick up this tumulus. So I'm guessing it's been farmed out of existence and it's just a record that there used to be a tumulus. Interestingly, this Box Copse was the place that a murder took place in 1948. It was of a tourist who was visiting the area, and her body was found in this section of woodland. So it was suspected that it was a local man that murdered her, and her family actually brought forward a prosecution against this guy, but from what I can make out online, it was never proved that he was the murderer. He was just the unlucky soul that came across the body within the copse. It's always great to get better perspective as you get closer to these places, because if we look roughly there is where the tumulus would be, and all of these trees here are coniferous, or they look coniferous, so fast growing, so they're new additions, but It would be a really great place to put a burial mound, wouldn't it? You'd be right above this coombe right down here, so anyone walking through this little valley would see that burial right on the top. So it was in this area that the airplane crashed. We're just going around the edge of Swanbourne Lake. You can vaguely see it down there through the trees. Swanbourne Lake is a natural spring that comes out of the South Downs. The waters on this lake are incredibly clear. Right here you can see just how clear this lake is. So Swanbourne Lake, it formed a mill pond for a number of years, stretches right the way back to the large tree that, as we exited down through the coombe, up on the top of the hill up there we've got High On Tower, which is a folly that the then Duke of Norfolk had built, and serves no purpose these days. At the end of Swanbourne Lake there was a mill pond, and currently it's just used for pleasure. There used to be also a trout farm off to the southwest of the lake, no longer in use. But it's in this area that we had the air crash in 1940, at the height of Battle of Britain, and this involved a Junkers, or Junkers. I'm sure someone will correct me for my enunciation of this. Junkers Ju-88 bomber, had a 4-man crew on board, and it was on its way to Farnborough to bomb a legitimate military target. As it came across the coast, it got attacked by hurricanes out of Tangmere. So the bomber was critically damaged, and the pilot was desperate to make a safe, or a landing basically where he wouldn't injure any civilians, which is very valiant of him. There's 4 crew on this bomber. 2 of the crew jumped out and parachuted to safety. The pilot and co-pilot jumped out at the last minute. They had a full bomb load on board, and unfortunately the plane struck some of the trees on the other side of the lake, snapped some beech trees in half. One of the crew members jumped out last minute and got his parachute tangled on the back of the aircraft. Unfortunately was dragged along behind the plane and fatally wounded, and then the pilot unfortunately didn't make it either. Trying to make a landing in this lake was his safest and best option, and somewhere in this lake is still the remainder of the aircraft, or so we're led to believe. So the lake has been dredged recently, but it wasn't that long ago. I think in the early 2000s or the 90s, you could still see parts of the airframe. When the lake became very low level, you could still see parts of the airframe down in the lake. It's obviously quite heavily silted, so the airframe would have sunk down into the lake. If you're making a visit to Arundel Castle, you can see one of the bombs from this aircraft in Arundel Castle on display, now disarmed. Unfortunately, we can no longer see the trees that were damaged in the crash. In the storm that we had in 1987, the broken trees were blown over and destroyed in that storm. Now, as we can see, the lake is used for the purposes of pleasure, mainly boat rides, and also a lot of families come down here to feed the ducks and to take strolls around the lake. The surface of this is all metalized, so me and my daughter have been here in the morning and you see quite a lot of runners. So I'm going to make my way back to the car down Mill Lane, so named after the mill that was at Swanbourne Lake. And interestingly, in some of my previous videos, I've been to Michel Grove House, and the Shelley family used to live there, and they used to get their grain milled at this mill, albeit they were arch rivals of the then Duke of Norfolk. Mill Road was the way that the parliamentarians attacked Arundel Castle back in the English Civil War, and this road was blockaded, and it was said that the parliamentarians had to beat down the blockade to attack the castle. So nearly back to the car. This is the Black Rabbit pub, site of a previous video. Somewhere down in the water, right there is my action camera from a failed paddle boarding trip, and also this is the site of my video to celebrate 100 subscribers on YouTube. As you can see, quite a substantial river, the River Arun. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to head back to the car, just up this way towards the lodge on Arundel Park. If I could take this time just to say thank you very much to everyone who has watched it and made it through to this part of the video. If you could hit the like and subscribe button, it will help me to share my content across YouTube. Any feedback, put down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.